What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 54. We have Alexander Rakic going against Jan Blachowicz.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back breaking down another DFS slate. This week we have 11 fights. Last week we had 15. Went to 14 once Cerrone did pull out on fight day, which completely sucked. Hopefully there's nothing like that this week. But yeah, 11 fights, really cannot afford to lose any, so hopefully we don't. But yeah, should be a decent card, and as always, another opportunity to make some money, so can't complain about it too much. I do want to shout out the winner for the DraftKings contest last week. So we did the total DraftKings points combined between Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. And shout out to Hector, hopefully I pronounced your last name right, Hector Ayala. He did comment 132. He won that. And Hector, if you can hit me up on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers, or just comment down your PayPal or Cash App, I will get you your winnings there. Congrats. Great guess there with that 132. But yeah, guys, other than that, leave a like, subscribe. Getting really close to 15K subs. I think we're like less than 40 away. So if we can hit that by this week even, that would be awesome. So thank you guys for that. If you do want extra content, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Optimizer, articles, all the good stuff. Tons of other information that you do not see here on YouTube. So I say we get into it. And as always, guys, we'll start with our fight doesn't go to decision lines. I do think there's going to be a lot of decisions, but I do think that 3 of these 4 fights here are probably going to finish more often than not. The first one being Ion Cutelaba going against Ryan Spann. It is minus 400. Fight doesn't go to decision. We have a light heavyweight fight here, and Cutelaba 88% finish rate, Ryan Spann an 84% finish rate. Both guys are very dangerous. Ryan Spann actually has a ton of submissions as well, a 58% submission rate for Ryan Spann here. But I think this fight does finish, and I am more on the Ion Cutelaba side. We'll talk about his price tag in a little bit at 8,900, but I really do like that price tag, especially the way he's been fighting as of late. His last 2 fights, he's went out there and got like 17 total takedowns, so he's going out there with a game plan. He's looking good. His cardio looked better in his last fight as well. I think he has an opportunity to go out here and either finish Spann early or just rinse and repeat takedowns for 15 minutes, racking up a ton of takedowns and a ton of control time. So I am on the Cutelaba side here, but Ryan Spann, this guy is very dangerous. He has a ton of power in his own right, and like I said, has that sneaky submission game as well, and we do see that Cutelaba has been finished in 4 of his 5 losses, so I think as a whole, it's a very good fight to target, but I am more on the Cutelaba side myself. Next, we have a very fun fight. We have Manuel Torres going against Frank Camacho, minus 300. Fight doesn't go to decision, and I think this fight absolutely does finish, and I think this fight probably even finishes under 1.5 rounds. Manuel Torres, 14 fights. He's only been over that 1.5, I believe, 1 time. He's been to decision 1 time. I know that for a fact. And Frank Camacho, this guy's a kill or be killed fighter. 86% finish rate for Frank Camacho, and he's been finished in 7 of his 9 losses. And you can see that, by the way he fights, he's going out there, he's throwing a ton of volume, he's trying to get his opponent out of there, and he's getting hit a lot. Frank Camacho is absorbing 7.31 significant strikes per minute. He's getting hit a lot, and you do not want to get hit hard against a guy that seems really dangerous in Manuel Torres. We don't know a ton about Manuel Torres, but from what I do see, he looks good, has some submissions on his record. He's going to be the younger fighter, the more fresher fighter. And Camacho, I don't know, Camacho's been finished like 7 times at this point. He's taken a 2-year layoff. What's he going to look like? And he's only 32 years old, but he's been fighting forever, it seems. So I am more on the Torres side, but this is a fight where I'm going to kind of split my exposure, not down the middle. I'm going to have more Torres, but I think the winner of this fight is going to win fairly early on. Like, even Torres and his 2 losses, they were both inside the distance, and they were both by submission as well. So, yeah, I think somebody's getting finished here, and it's a very good fight to target regardless. Next, we have David Grant going against Luis Smolka. Yeah, I like David Grant quite a bit, 9,100. This guy's a finisher, has a ton of power. You typically like to play him as a dog. We don't usually see him at 9,100 here, but Luis Smolka, the guy is one of the most inconsistent fighters you'll see. Believe it or not, he's not the most inconsistent fighter on this card. That we'll talk about Michael Johnson later, but yeah, I think this fight is another one that finishes. David Grant 85% finish rate, Luis Smolka 88% finish rate. You take a look at their losses, especially David Grant has been finished in 4 of 6 losses. Those 4 coming by submission. We know Luis Smolka is a very good grappler, and then Luis Smolka has been finished in half his losses, 4 out of 8, 1 by knockout and 3 by submission as well. I think this fight does finish. I think David Grant does knock out Luis Smolka, but if Smolka does get it down to the mat, he could be live for that sub. And then we have Rakic, Blachowicz, -150 fight, doesn't go to decision. Light heavyweight fight, 5 rounds, but I actually see this fight probably going to decision. Rakic, I kind of see it being a slow-paced fight, not a ton going on, and at that point, it's really hard for me to go up there and pay $8,700 for Rakic in a fight where I don't see him getting a ton of takedowns. Maybe he can get a couple. I see him getting some control time, whether it's against the cage, and if he does get Blachowicz down, somehow he's going to probably be on top. So I guess there is some control time upside there, but as far as like a finish upside, I'm not so sure. Blachowicz is very tough, very durable, and then I kind of just see it being like a grinding fight with not a ton going on. So if anything, honestly, I'd probably just take the savings with Jan Blachowicz and hope for a knockout here, but honestly not a fight I'm overly excited to target here, and that's pretty crazy to say considering it is the main event, but I just don't see it being very exciting, and I don't see a ton going on. Let's take a look at the core plays. We have Nick Maximov, 9,300. This guy is the definition of relentless, going against Andre Petroski, who, both guys have very similar skill sets, but the one thing that does stick out is the cardio. One guy has 3-round cardio. You can go out there and attempt 20-plus takedowns, no problem, and get a ton of them. And then we have one guy in Petroski who does look tired in the very first round. I think Maximov, it's going to be competitive early on, but I think Maximov's going to set a pace that Petroski's not going to be able to keep up. I think we have takedown upside with Maximov, control time upside, and actually think he finishes Petroski as the fight goes on when Petroski does start to slow down. So I like Maximov quite a bit. He will be my highest exposed player on the entire slate. And at 9,300, it may seem expensive, but I think you don't see it too often with the guy. In Maximov, he's going to go out there. He's going to get a ton of takedowns, and he has the cardio to do so for 3 rounds. He doesn't care if you call him boring or not. That's how he fights, and it scores very, very well. Manuel Torres, 8,300. Yeah, like I said, this is a fight where I'm going to play both sides here. I do lean towards the Torres side more. Frank Camacho, 2-year layoff. He's now 32 years old. He's been fighting for forever, taking a ton of damage. He's been finished 7 times. Torres, very, very dangerous. He's finished all but one of his wins. Dangerous anywhere the fight goes, as well as Torres has a ton of power. I think he does come out here and knock out Frank Camacho in the very first round. I don't trust Camacho's chin. I don't trust especially Camacho's striking defense. The dude eats punches with his face, and again, you don't want to do that against Torres. So I like Torres here. I think Torres finishes him in the first round, but if it gets out of the first round, I think it gets very interesting because we've only seen Torres out of the first round, I think like once. Ian Kudalaba, 8,900. Yeah, I think, multiple paths of scoring very well. And on top of that, we only had to pay $8,900 for the guy. He went out there and got like 8 or 9 takedowns in his last fight against Devin Clark. Got like 8 takedowns against Dutch and Jacoby as well. And if he does that here again, he's probably going to score very well. Takedowns, control time. Like I said, his cardio looked better in his last fight as well. Maybe he can build off of that. And yeah, I just think he can come out here, knock out Ryan Spann. I don't trust the chin of Ryan Spann. And then Kudalaba has a takedown upside I really like there. So yeah, I like me some Kudalaba, 8,900. One of my favorite plays on the slate, going to have a ton of them. And then Viviane Araújo. This is more of a cash game play for me, but I do like Araújo here at 8,000. Very solid price here. I think she has early takedown upside. Andrea Lee's been taken down in every single one of her fights besides one, including against Roxanne Modafferi just like a year ago. And Viviane should be able to get this fight down to the mat when she does. She is a black belt in BJJ. On the feet, I think it's going to be very competitive. You have the volume of Andrea Lee. You also have the volume of Araújo, but more so the power I think is going to be the difference. So I think Araújo is going to be winning the striking exchanges, but they'll be close. But yeah, the takedowns will be there early on. It's just as the fight goes on, Araújo does slow down, and that's what kind of makes this one tricky here. If she has 3-round cardio, I'm plugging her into a ton of lineups, but since she only has about a round and a half, 2 rounds of cardio, kind of makes me a little bit iffy, but I think at the very worst, she goes up there, she wins the first round, she gets takedown, she looks good, but I do think she's going to slow down if she does not get the finish. So more of a cash game play for me. I don't think there's a ton of upside here, but I do really like the cash upside there. GPP plays here, tournament plays. Davey Grant, 9,100. This guy's a finisher. He's dangerous anywhere the fight goes. I think he's the much better striker than Smolka as well. Davey Grant's strikings look so much better as of late. I think he knocks out Smolka and probably does it in the very first round. So 9,100, sign me up. I do like that. Janaroba, 8,500. Tricky fight to call here, but if Janaroba gets this fight down to the mat, like even once, she probably gets a submission against Angela Hill. Angela Hill's takedown defense has looked much better. I think it's now 78% on paper. But yeah, this is a fight where honestly it probably takes one, and then it's a submission. Janaroba's ground game is elite. One of the best ground games in the division. Not too often you see a fighter pull guard on Mackenzie Dern. You just don't. And that's the confidence she has in her ground game, and rightfully so. She's very good on the mat. So one takedown is all it takes here for Janaroba. If she gets her down, probably a sub. If she does not get Angela Hill down, I think it's going to be very ugly, and I think Hill is going to make it look easy. But I do like the early submission upside, especially for Janaroba at 8,500. Jake Hadley, 8,800. Yeah, this kind of feels like the Tracy Cortez fight last week with Melissa Gatto. You have Nascimento, who's just content to get taken down, no takedown defense. I think it's like 16%, and he's content to just throw up submission attempts for 15 minutes. And it's not going to work at this level all that often, but yeah, Hadley should get takedowns here. He should get control time. Like, he can go out there and get like 12 minutes of control time and win this fight. We saw Tagir Ulanbekov get around 12, 13 minutes of control time in his last fight against Nascimento. So yeah, the game plan is on the table for Hadley. Get this fight down to the mat. Stay safe on top. Don't get submitted. Nascimento is definitely going to have some opportunities, but I think Nascimento is definitely sub or bust, and a submission off his back especially. So Hadley, takedown upside, control time upside, 8,800. I don't mind it. Michael Johnson, 8,400, so it's extremely hard to trust Michael Johnson, but on paper, this seems like a matchup he absolutely should win. Very solid takedown defense on paper. Alan Patrick has looked horrendous for the last 3 years. The last time Alan Patrick has looked good, it was 2017 against Damir Hadzovic. Since then, he's just looked completely awful. But we know Michael Johnson at this point. The guy drops the ball more often than not. He's looking really good until he's not. So you can't trust him. I would not touch his fight in cash. But for tournaments, I think Michael Johnson has potential to go out here and knock out Alan Patrick. So we'll see what happens. Not a fight you can be overly confident in, but I feel like it's somewhat important for DraftKings this week, especially with 11 fights on the slate. Live dogs here, Jan Blachowicz. This is more of a price play for me. I just don't want to lay $8,700 on Alexander Rakic in a fight where I don't see a ton going on. If Blachowicz does win, you got to believe it's going to be a knockout at some point. He's going to have 5 rounds to do it. Wants to bounce back from his performance in his last fight against Glover Teixeira. Seems pretty motivated this week as well. So I'll take some shots on Blachowicz just for that knockout upside, but not a fight as a whole I'm overly excited about. And, crazy to say that because it's the main event, but still, I'm just not seeing this fight, being very eventful, honestly. Frank Camacho is 7,900. Yeah, I see this fight being very eventful. I think these guys are just going to stand and bang until one man falls. I think you're going to have the winner of this fight, especially at these price tags. Frank Camacho, very good finisher in his own right. Torres, we don't know a ton about him. Newcomer. He's been finished in both his losses. I think we got to have some Camacho. I am on the Torres side myself, like I said, but both sides in this fight is probably best. And a fight I would not play in cash. But a fight for tournaments, I'd kind of just split it closely down the middle. I think I have more Torres than Camacho, though, for sure. And then Alan Nascimento, 7,400. This is a play where you're looking for that sub off your back play. He's not going to go out there and get takedowns. I don't think this fight is going to take place on the feet that often. If it does, it's probably competitive, but I see Hadley taking down Nascimento, but Nascimento is completely fine with that. He's going to be throwing up submission attempts for 15 minutes. Maybe he gets one. If he does, 7,400 is a really good look there. If not, he probably scores very low. But I do want to take a look at some of that submission upside from Nascimento, although I don't think it's overly likely. And then Alan Patrick, 7,800. This is just in case, Michael Johnson drops the ball. We've seen it time and time again. Michael Johnson at this point is 19 and 17. Alan Patrick, if he does get the fight down to the mat, he is a black belt, and Michael Johnson's been submitted a million times. So, weird fight. I think it's somewhat important, though. Patrick does get it down. He probably wins the fight, but a fight you can't be confident in one way or another. But I will have some Patrick. And then also Angela Hill, I think, is an interesting look as well. Angela Hill sitting at 7,700. If she is able to stuff the takedowns, I think she's the much, much, much better striker. Pump plays, Ryan Spann, 7,300. Yeah, this is a light heavyweight fight. Kudalaba's been finishing 4 or 5 losses. Ryan Spann hits like a truck, and on top of that, Ryan Spann has a very sneaky submission game, finishing over half his wins by submission. We have seen Kudalaba slow down as well, so Spann's probably going to have some opportunities here. I like the Kudalaba side a lot this week, but this is a fight that is minus 400. Fight doesn't go to decision, 80% probability there. Somebody's going to win this fight and win inside the distance, so I'll have some Spann, but I do like Kudalaba a lot this week. Carlos Candelario, this is more a fade of the Tara side here. Tara, 22 years old, making his debut in the UFC, making his debut in the United States. I know Candelario is making his debut as well, but Candelario did fight twice on the Contender Series. I'd like to see that. But I think Tara does win, but this price tag does not make a ton of sense to me. Candelario, 7,200. He's fought the better competition. Very well-rounded fighter, solid striking, good wrestling, good grappling as well. But he's a BJJ brown belt. Has never been submitted, I don't believe, as well. So that's good as well. And there's not a ton of dogs I really like on this card, so I'll be taking some shots on Candelaria just because of the price tag. I don't hate it. And then fades, Caitlin Chukagian, 8,600. Pretty easy fade here. She has not found the optimal lineup in any of her fights besides one, and that one was Antonina Shevchenko. And I really like Chukagian to win this fight, but outside of like an early knockout, I just don't see her scoring well, and she has no finishes in the UFC. She's not going to go for takedowns against Hiba. She's not going to get control time. She's going to pick her apart for 15 minutes and score 50 to 60 points. And at 8,600, that's not going to cut it. I will say Hibas has been knocked down in both her losses, but dude, that's just not Chukagian. She's not a finisher. She doesn't hit too hard. So, yeah, that is the fade for me. And also not going to have a ton of Rakic as well. But yeah, guys, that is about it. Those are the plays. Kind of a tough card this week for DraftKings, especially, and betting even. But yeah, should be fun. Another opportunity to make money. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out dfsbythenumbers.com. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So we'll talk to you soon. Good luck. UFC Vegas 54. Let us make some money.